Well, this is a story for you, but it's also a story for my mother, Palomba, because she and I were going to tell it together. It's a Romanian story, and my mom was Romanian, but we ran out of time, so we never did get to tell it together. So, Palomba, this is for you. So, once something happened. If it hadn't happened, how could I tell you about it? It was a long time ago, so long ago that the good old days were still to come. And there were two farmers, and they were married to each other, Stan Bolovan and Fici. You know, the old stories always say there was a farmer and his wife. Excuse me, she was a farmer too. And they lived together, they were happy. They had a dog named Mishigas. And I brought my dog here too, but maybe you'll hear her later. Anyway, they lived together, they had a nice farm, everything was good, they were happy. Until one day something happened. If it hadn't happened, how could I tell you about it? Stan Bolovan comes into the kitchen, and there's Fici stirring the mamaliga with her wooden spoon, which is like polenta, made out of cornmeal. And she's crying into the mamaliga. He says, "My darling, why are you crying?" And she said, "If I tell you, you'll cry too." He said, "No, I won't." "Yes, you will." Well, next day, she's making the ikre with fish eggs. "Darling, why are you crying into the ikre? They're already salty." She said, "If I tell you, you'll cry too." "No, I won't." "Yes, you will." Next day, she's making the salata défunte with eggplant and onion, and she's crying and crying. And she said, "Why are you crying?" "If I tell you, you'll cry too." "No, I won't. I'm a tough Romanian farmer." She says, "So am I. I'm a tough Romanian farmer. And if I tell you, you're going to cry." "I won't." "You will." "I won't." Anyway, back and forth. And finally, she said, "All right, I'll tell you why I'm crying. We love each other. We have a nice farm. We have a lovely dog, but we have no children." So Stan Bolovan started to cry too. So he cried, she cried, she cried, he cried. This story could last a long time, but I'll just tell you what happened next. All of a sudden, something happened. There was a knock at the door. And Stan Bolovan stopped crying. He went to the door. He opened the door, and there were three travelers standing there in the rain. So even the sky was crying in the story. So standing there, and he says, "Come in, come in." They said, Is a stranger welcome here?" And Stan Bolovan said, "A guest is a gift from God. Come in, my friends." And they came in, took off their cloaks. She served them mamaliga. Stan Bolovan poured a little sliv of it. And they tasted the mamaliga. Says, "Excellent, it's delicious, just enough salt." And she said, "Sați fie de bine, it should do you good." And that was nice. They stayed the night. In the morning, they got ready to leave. They came to the door. Stan Bolovan said, "Thank you so much for staying with us. A guest is a gift from God." And they said, "Not everybody believes that anymore. You know, some people try to build walls instead of bridges nowadays." And Stan Bolovan said, "They're crazy." Anyway, next time you're passing by, stop in. And they said, "Look, we'd like to give you a little gift." He said, "There's no need for a gift. I just did what everybody else would do. Welcome the stranger." They said, "No, we're going to give you a gift." First one said, "Make a wish." Stan Bolovan said, "All right." Didn't have to think much about it. He said, "I'd like to have children." Second one said, "What's your second wish?" He said, "More children." The third one said, "And what's your third wish? And be careful what you wish for." He said, "More children." And he walked them down the end of their lane, and by the time he turned back to the farm, he heard the sound of children laughing. There were 100 children, about 3 years old, and they're all running towards him, yelling, "Papa, Papa, Papa." And the border, Mishi was a border collie. She's running back and forth, trying to herd the children. That's a lot of children. And he looked at them all running towards him, and he thought, "Dacă bal, bal să fie." If you're going to have a ball, have a ball. And life went on, and he and Fici were so happy. 100 children. If you've never had 100 children, you have no idea how much joy they can bring, until one day one of them came and said, "Daddy, we're hungry. Papa, we're hungry." And the other ones came, "Yeah, we're hungry, Papa." Then they got cranky, 100 cranky children. And his wife said, "You made a wish, the wish came true, and now the rest is up to you. You're the father, go find a way to feed our children." And Stan Bolovan thought, "Yeah, it's up to me. You can't chew with someone else's teeth. I have to do it myself." And he whistled up, "Mishi, this is how." And the dog came, and away they went. And they traveled far. They traveled very, very far. They traveled so far, they passed the back of beyond. They turned left on the other side of nowhere, and they finally came to the end of the world, where what is mixed with what is not. You know, I tried to find it one time on Google Maps, and it fried my hard drive. Anyway, Stan Bolovan comes to the end of the world. What does he see? A shepherd with many, many, many lovely sheep sitting by the fire, eating a piece of brinza cheese with sheep and eating some bread and crying. And Stan Bolovan thought, well, it's like everybody's got to cry in this story. He comes up, he says, why are you crying, my good man? Buonasera, good evening, but why are you crying? He said, oh, yeah, if I tell you, you'll cry too. You're not going to believe what happened. Every single night a dragon comes over the end of the world and steals my fattest ewes. My fattest ewes. And I can't do anything. Can a man fight a dragon? And Stan Bolovan said, so you have a ewe problem. You're losing ewes. Yes, I'm losing my ewes. Well, you have a big problem with no ewes because you need your ewes. Yes, I need my ewes. So he says, well, what would you give me if I got rid of the dragon for you? Me and my dog Mishi. Oh my gosh, if you could get rid of the dragon, but you can't, of course. A man cannot fight a dragon. If you got rid of the dragon, I would give you enough sheep to feed 100 hungry children. And Stan Bolovan said, I'll do it. And he said, when's the dragon coming? He said, in about 5 minutes. He says, you have the rest of the cheese, take the bread too, it's your last meal on earth. I think you're nutsy-fruitsy to try to fight a dragon. Away goes the shepherd. Stan Bolovan takes a bite of the cheese, gives some to his dog, a little bit of bread, puts the rest in his pocket, because at that moment he heard a terrible, terrible noise coming from the other side of the end of the world. You want to know how bad it was? It was so bad and so terrible, I don't even want you to try to imagine it. Because over the end of the world came a dragon. Now this was the biggest dragon Stan Bolovan had ever seen. In fact, it was the only dragon he'd ever seen, but it was very big. Came over the end of the world, landed in the field, started to reach out its claws to grab a ewe, and Stan Bolovan, instead of running away, he took his courage in both hands and he started to walk towards the dragon with his dog. And the dragon looked at him like a calf stares at a new gate. He saw this man walking towards him. Who are you? And Stan Bolovan said, yeah, who am I? I am Stan Bolovan, Stan Big Rocks. You've been stealing my ewes, and you owe me money. Well, I never heard of you. Who are you? He said, I'm the strongest man in the world. My dog is the strongest dog in the world, and my wife, Fichi, is the strongest woman in the world. In fact, you're so lucky she's not here with me right now, because if she had come with me right now, she'd be walking home in dragon skin slippers under a dragon skin parasol. Dragon was pretty worried. He said, well, how strong are you? And Stan Bolovan said, I'm so strong I can squeeze cream out of a stone. He reached into his pocket and took out the piece of cheese. Watch this. Cream everywhere. And the dragon said, oh my gosh, you're strong. And he said, yeah, well, can you do that? Dragon picked up a rock, squeezed it. Just dust came out of the rock. And Stan Bolovan said, you are nothing but a big papalapte, a big milk sucker, a big baby. You can't even squeeze cream out of a rock. Now pay me for the ewes. Oh, well, I don't have the money. I left home without it. My mommy has it on the other side in Dragonland. You'll have to come with me. And Stan Bolovan said, all right, I'm coming. Whistled up his dog, up on the back of the dragon, whoop, over the end of the world. They came to the dragon mother's house. Dragon said, you wait here. Goes in and he says, Mama, the strongest man in the world is waiting outside, Stan Bolovan. He can squeeze cream from a rock. Mother said, I never heard of no Stan Bolovan. He said, bring him in. So he goes in with the dog, and she says, look, if you can do 3 jobs for me, you have to be very strong to do them. You have to throw a club, you have to haul water, and you have to bring back firewood. I'll pay you 7 bags of gold for each chore you do. He went to sleep that night. Now, did I mention why she needed ewes every night? I don't think so. You want to know why? Okay, Dan, why? I'll tell you why. Because she bathed in the sheep's milk, and she said it was very good for her wrinkles because it had antioxidants. I'll tell you the truth, it really didn't do much for her wrinkles, and I don't even think she knows what an antioxidant is, and neither do I. But anyway, no sheep's milk, no nothing that night, and Stan Bolovan is sleeping over there, but he didn't sleep too well. Next morning, she says, this club, this big iron club, his granddaddy made it, and now you have to throw it in the air. Whoever throws it the highest gets 7 bags of gold. They go outside the dragon, whoop, about 2 kilometers up, poof, big crash on the ground, and he says, now it's your turn. And Stan Bolovan went to one end, he put his hand on the iron club. The dog came around, put her paws on the other end, and Stan Bolovan said, no, just wait. And he looks up, And the dragon said, what are you looking at? He says, I'm waiting for the moon to pass over. I don't want to knock the moon out of the sky, because that's how high I'm going to throw it. He says, no, don't do that. I don't want to lose my club, and I don't want you to knock the moon out of the sky. I'll tell you what, I'll throw it and say you threw it higher, and you get the gold, and the moon stays up there. Yeah, that's all right with me. So anyway, he gets 7 bags of gold that night. Second chore, haul water. Big buffalo hide buckets. Dragon takes a couple, boom, boom, boom. Stan Bolovan couldn't pick one up even with 100 children, he couldn't pick it up. So he calls his dog over and he says, here now, Mishi, come over here. Bill's coming up. He says, dig. And the dog starts to dig by the side of the well. The dragon comes back. Come here, Jilsey. Up. Good girl. Up. Come on, that's what, oh yeah. Get out of the way. I'm telling a story. And the dragon, he says, what are you doing? He says, I'm not going to waste my time carrying 1 bucket at a time when I can just take the whole well. So my dog's digging it up. Oh, no, don't do that. My granddaddy dug that well. Here now, I'll carry it. Say you carried more, you get the gold. That's exactly what happened. 7 more bags, that's 14. Third chore the next day, the third chore is to carry firewood. Dragon goes into the forest, rips up a tree trunk, takes it home. And Stan Bolovan, he takes a rope made out of vine, and he climbs up a tree, ties it at the top, gives it to Mishi. She runs over, he climbs up another tree, runs over. They tie about 30 trees together at the top. Dragon comes back and says, what are you doing? He says, you don't expect a man like me, Stan Bolovan, to waste my time carrying 1 little twig at a time back and forth. I'm going to tear the whole forest down. He says, no, my grandpa planted that. You can't tear it all down. Says, I'm going to. 1, 2, on the count of 3. No! I'll carry the wood, you get the gold. All right. Well, that night, he didn't go to sleep. He waited at the door. He listened, because the dragon's mother said, that man is too strong for us. You have to go in tonight and kill him with your grandpa's iron club. And when Stan Bolovan heard that, he took a pig's trough and put it in bed, and then a little trough for the dog. Made it look like they were both sleeping there, and covered them both up with a blanket. And he went under the bed with his dog, and they were waiting. The door opened, and in tiptoed the dragon. Now, you have to picture it. Tiptoeing dragon. So make a good cartoon. Anyway, here comes the dragon. Hi-ya! Poof! Smashes it down on the trough. And goes out, and then he and his mother drinking slivovitz all night long. We got rid of the strongest man in the world. And Stan Bolovan comes out the next day, rubbing his forehead. And they said, how did you sleep last night? He said, terribly. I think a flea bit me on the forehead. Mama, I hit him on the head with a 1,000-pound iron club, and he thinks a flea bit him on the forehead. And Stan Bolovan said, I'm leaving you now. I'm taking all of your gold. Yes, they said. And he said, pile it up for me. Yes. Now put it on your back. Yes. On the dragon's back. And he and Mishi got on top, and the mother said, don't ever come back. He said, I don't plan to. And whoops, over the end of the world they go. Right over the shepherd. And he looked down and he said, hey, it's just this way, the sheep, don't forget. Yes, I'll bring them now. So anyway, landed not too far from his farm, and then he thought, I'm in big trouble. Because when this dragon looks around and sees it's a little farm, and my wife's a little woman, and I'm not so big. Actually, you can't see, it's about the same size as me. He had glasses, he had a little nice red scarf, everything. Anyway, he said, the dragon will know that I've been faking, I've been selling him donuts, Vindigogosi, I've been selling him donuts all this time, I don't know. And indeed, he stopped. He said, now unload here. I don't want to be embarrassed by bringing such a small amount of gold back to my farm. They'll laugh at me. And the dragon started to look around, and he saw that farm down the laneway was not so very big. And Stan Bolovan was pretty small, and he thought, you know, he almost threw the club. He almost dug up the well. He almost tore the forest, but he never did. Just squeezed cream from a rock. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, luckily at that moment, 100 hungry children came running towards Stan Bolovan yelling, Papa, Papa, and they had knives and forks in their hands, and they said, we're so hungry we could eat a dragon. And when the dragon heard that, he started to fly away, and he flew so far, he flew into a whole other story quite far away from mine, and that was the end of the dragon. Now, what happened to Stan Bolovan and his wife? And they had a nice meal, and then the shepherd showed up. They had a nice barbecue, and the kids got a lot to eat. Everybody was happy, and they danced the hora all around the farm. And then, guess what? The kids grew up. Every single one of them became a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. and they all lived happily ever after. And that's the story of Stan Bolovan. I dedicate it to my mother. Here's the moral of my story, as all Romanian children learn: if you're going to tell a lie, tell a beautiful lie. And here's what I learned as the storyteller: if you want to tell a story with somebody that you love, you better do it while you still can.